From the Dallas On Air studios in beautiful Dallas, Texas, this is Fulfillment right here in DallasOnAir.com. And now here's your host, the Mega Bomber, PJ Dunn.
All right, welcome everybody to the show. This is a special show. We're going to get into that in a second. So if you're just watching, this is season 4, episode 6. Today's topic, we will be talking about those Oscars that will be on TV later tonight. Many people are arguing and ready to fight over it. But before we go there, I have to tell you, we have an OG that's here with us today, with the part of the original Fulfillment crew and still is part of the original Fulfillment crew. We've got the Film Samurai here today.
Good morning, everybody.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
One shot.
One shot.
Yeah,
love
one
it.
shot, love it.
Do it. We love that.
Oh, and I want to thank PJ, my bestest friend in the world, for getting me this beautiful Batman McFarlane sculpt. It's amazing. It's huge. I didn't think it was that big.
Yeah.
And also, this Batmobile is
That's what she said.
awesome.
Yeah. A lot of hard.
Awesome, dude. Thank you.
You bet, man. Anything for good friends, right? That's why we stay friends. And how about the man behind the counter, the co-host, also extraordinary? That would be Kazak.
Greetings and salutations, campers. Welcome to DallasOnAir.com. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes. So we have a full spate for you today, but usually if you've watched the show, you know that the first thing that we like to get into is the things that we have just seen. So this gives you a sense of kind of the stuff that we do, what we like, what we watch. You can determine if we got crazy watching habits or if we have good habits by the stuff that we watch. It's okay if you judge as people online usually do. So, Carlos, what have you been watching lately, brother?
Okay, I've seen a couple of good things, and I'll just say the first one real quick.
Okay.
So I'll just get it out of the way. But yesterday I went to see The Outfit. Stars Mark Rylance, Graham Moore, I believe is the director. I think he's a British director. I think it's based on a novel. I'm not sure, but it's a very tight. It's one of those one location stories. It's very cleverly written. Dick Pope cinematography, beautiful. The actors all great. Zoe Deutsch is in it. God, I can't remember the one of the main guys that's in it, but he's kind of like Criminal Underworld.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so good. I recommend it. If you don't see it at the theaters, at least watch it at home.
Yeah.
But the movie I really want to talk about is X.
X. Okay,
Ty
like
West.
your ex.
My ex, yeah. Not as bad as my, no. I'm not going to say.
Carlos coming in with the hot take this morning.
Hot takes.
Jeez.
X is Ty West's return to filmmaking after 10 years, Zach. Is that right?
Is it
Is
10
that
years?
about right?
Wow.
I think I read that.
10
somewhere.
years.
10 years. He hasn't been doing anything. And I read that he sent this script to A24, which is known for doing off-the-wall kind of artsy stuff.
Right.
And he said, this may be over too crazy for you guys, or, decline it if you want, whatever. But I said, no, make it, do it. And so he did it. And it's a beautiful homage to Tobe Hooper, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a group of kids. It's set in Texas, Houston area.
Okay.
1979. So it's period. And it's beautiful needle drops, of course.
Right.
Fashions,
Mm-hmm.
So the basic story is this crew of kids. They're not really kids. They're all adults. A couple of them are like strippers, and they get in a van, drive out to this old farmhouse, and they're renting this house from the guy who owns the land.
Mm-hmm.
Creepy old man.
Okay.
And he's married, but you don't see his wife right away. And they're there to make a porno because this is like the next big thing now. They're going to shoot this porno, but the director decided it's going to be kind of an artsy type porno. It's going to be better than your average,
There's gonna be actual dialogue.
But it's cliche. It's about a farmer's daughter. That whole trope of
Because, of course.
of porno. And so the standout actress in this is, oh my God, why can't I think of her name right now? Oh, Maya Goth. I think it's Maya. It's either Mia Goth or Maya Goth. She was in. She's been in several. She was in that remake of Suspiria.
Okay.
She is a standout. I love this girl to death. The rest of the crew is great. All the actors are great. It's very cleverly done, and it is almost like bordering on art house horror.
Okay.
And it has a lot of layers to it. There's an emotional core to this film that, if you're like me, I'm getting up in years, and it has a little of that, time has passed you by. You weren't as beautiful or young as you were,
Oh.
and the kids today don't appreciate what they have now.
Right.
Wait till they get old, and then things are gonna
Wow.
things are gonna change. And so there's some amazing sequences in this film, and highly recommend it. If you're a horror fan, you will love this film. Even if you're not, I mean, but I got to warn you, it is very gory.
Ooh.
Ty West is known for doing some crazy horror, creepy stuff, and this is no different than
No
any of his
different, huh?
previous things. But
Wow.
and watch out, because there's a lot of foreshadowing of death. So it's very clever the way he
Ooh.
did things. So keep an eye out for in the backgrounds things going on.
Okay.
Little sight gags every once in a while.
Okay.
Look at the name of the van that they're driving in. You'll crack up if you're like me. You'll crack up. It's a very funny film. Well, I mean, it has humor in it. It's not a comedy.
Right.
I'll put it that way. But oh man, yes.
So that's
highly
pretty
recommend
good.
it.
That sounds great, though.
Yeah.
Because I thought the scariest thing coming out of Houston was the traffic.
But no, Ty West does. When it comes to horror, Ty West does creepy better than anyone these days. I mean, you go take a look at his own. You go take a look at Innkeepers. You go take a look at House of the Dead, or not
House of the
Dead.
Devil.
That-
Yeah.
House of the Devil.
and
Sorry,
sometimes
House of the Dead is some bold. nonsense. Can't say that word on this early, but yeah, I mean, Ty is just a fantastic director, and it's good to see him come back to horror, man. I'm definitely looking forward.
Oh,
to this
and
one.
stay after the credits, because there's something there that will. Yeah, it's
Really?
something else. There's something coming after this movie.
Okay,
Oh,
So
wow.
I
All right.
won't spill the beans, but yeah,
Okay.
just
So,
watch.
well, Marvel action
yes,
going
Stay and watch.
on. Kazak, how about you, man? What have you seen lately?
all right. So,
Thanks.
I've been kind of running like crazy. I haven't had a chance to watch a lot. I did get a chance to catch a little something. I'm a little late to the party on this one, but I'm glad I discovered it. It is the new television show on HBO Max, and that is called Our Flag Means Death. This is a new television show from the mind of Taika Waititi, which, if you like stuff like
Hunt
what
for
we
the
do-
Wilder people.
what we do in the shadows, if you dig Thor Ragnarok, things like that. This is kind of a workplace comedy, but it's a workplace comedy about pirates, and it's based on a true story.
Oh wow.
It stars Rhys Darby as an English aristocrat who leaves his family in England to go become a pirate, and he's terrible. He's terrible
Oh,
at the
my
gig.
gosh.
And he winds up tangling with Blackbeard.
Oh my God.
But I mean, the cast in this is absolutely fantastic. It's a great ensemble piece. Again, it has kind of like that The Office feel, but again, it's pirates. It's not like direct to the camera,
Okay.
but it is. There's some great flashbacks and some great just instant humor. And again, the weird thing is that it's based on a true story, because it's based on Captain Steve Bonner, who was this really just bad pirate. And I don't mean bad in like the evil sense. I mean bad in just he's a bad pirate. He's bad at the job.
Oh, man.
But I mean, it's just absolutely sensational. Really, really funny. It's a really inclusive cast. You some great sword fighting. It's really just great historical period humor. I cannot recommend this story enough.
Is there Is there parrots in it?
Not yet. I haven't seen the parrots yet.
No peg leg. Okay. Nobody says "Arr."
No, that we get to.
Okay.
And it would be hard to be a pirate. Think about it. You only got one eye, you got one hand, and you got one leg. So it'd be hard to be a pirate.
But
So-
yeah, they're encountering cannibals and
Oh my God.
just yeah.
Sounds awesome.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Do check that on HBO Max.
That's awesome. So what I watched here recently, I had to finally catch up to it because now season 4 is out, but it's Yellowstone season 3. So that's finally something I got a chance to finish watching. I would just say it this way. You really feel for John Dutton. He's got a generational ownership of this property of Yellowstone, which takes up almost like a small state, like Rhode Island or something.
Yellowstone
7
actually takes up
years.
4 states. So.
Yeah, right, right. It's like Yellowstone. So here, what's interesting is, again, if you've been following, what you know is that all these people are trying to take the land from him. It's 7 years in his family, the Dutton family. And so he doesn't want him to be the person where it's on his watch, where his kids don't get it or nothing else continues. And you remember, his kids don't really care about it. They don't want a ranch. They're modernized. They want to do everything else. But here you get a guy in that wants to come in, that wants to buy the property. That's happened before. The guy just wanted to put golf courses there.
Mm-hmm.
This guy says, no, I want to put a town here,
Well,
because that will create the economic engine to bring a bunch of money in through here. And so they were like, again, doing their whole power play with the Duttons. And the Duttons are like, nah, we're not selling this land. Are you kidding me? And he's like, listen, I got the money. You just list the price, just whatever the price is. And he won't give them a price because it's not about money for him. It's about the generations of all the people that lived on all these Duttons, right? And so he sends his daughter in because his daughter is just badass, right? And she tries to muscle this guy. And she can't, with all her, she comes from a mergers and acquisitions background, and she's a bitch. And so she can't get this guy to shake that's coming, because that's how super rich he is. And so they already start moving contracts, moving deeds, and all this stuff. And you're going, what the hell? And of course, there's always one of his sons he just does not like, the one that's the lawyer. And so this season, you got to watch to see how their situation goes, because he hates that guy. And
is
that
he the one
particular
that's
son.
running for office? Did he ever win?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the one that was trying to run for office, all this stuff. And then the younger son, they want him to go ahead and be the stock commissioner, because Dutton doesn't want to do it anymore.
My favorite Casey.
Yes, he's awesome. And then, of course, the Native Americans who he was in struggle with actually are with him, because they're like, well, if that billionaire guy comes in here, and he's going to take all this land and do this with it.
He's teaming up with
So
him.
all that
Yeah.
tension and that depression that you see going in there, and there's a great understory with the kid,
Yeah.
the grandson of his.
Yes.
That's the son of, yeah. So there's a great story there, and then there's some other new women they bring in who are just as big a B as Kelly Riley's character.
Whoa.
So now there's going to be this big throwdown between the lawyers with the guy that's the billionaire, her, and then these land people. All three about to bump heads. So yeah, season 3. If you've watched season 1 and 2, you loved that. Season 3 does not disappoint, and now I'm ready for season 4. And I hope that this is the last one after this, because after a while, there's only so many ways you can try to take his land, right? But that was Yellowstone season 3, folks, and it's a watch. It's worth a watch. It's worth getting a couple people over
It definitely is.
and sit down and watch. And I got it on video, so
One
for
of the
DVD. So if you
Best
want to borrow
dramas
it,
on TV. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll borrow it.
you bet, you bet. Well, all right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to transition into the main topic of the day. And you all know today is Oscar Day, and that will happen later on this evening tonight. And so rather than us just getting in and giving you predictions, what we thought would be interesting is if we talked about the biggest Oscar snubs. We're going to look at it from the perspective first of the actors and actors that were snubbed, and then we'll look at the directors, and then we'll tell you about the particular or movies, and then we'll talk about the directors that never won an Oscar, even though you would think that they did based off the filmography they had. But we're going to start first with the actors or actresses that were snubbed, and we'll just start with you, Film Samurai.
Okay. So we're going to do all three of them?
Just do one.
Yeah, we're going to do
Okay,
round robin.
corn style it.
All right. Let's. First one I picked was Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator.
Oh, wait a minute, he didn't win?
No, he was nominated, didn't win. What a snub, right? I mean, what a performance in Gladiator. Oh my God, who do you think he lost to?
Oh! It had to have been some ridiculous. Oh, don't tell me it was somebody like.
It wasn't Daniel Day-Lewis because, well,
That
it was a supporting actor actually, right? It wasn't lead actor, but he lost to Benicio del Toro in Traffic, which that was a good movie too. Like Steven Soderbergh, but I don't think anybody could have topped Joaquin Phoenix in that role. It was such an incredible what he put into it, and just the film itself, Gladiator, Ridley Scott, epic period.
Yeah. How do you do that? How do you do that? I mean, you got these best actors in this film. You've got Ridley Scott, the guy who brought us Alien and more, and then Joaquin Phoenix is going to eventually be Joker, probably because they watched this film and said, "Look how crazy he is in this thing." I don't know. That's crazy.
And there's some great scenes with him and Russell Crowe face to face, and that final, that face off at the end. Yeah, it was just so good.
Yeah, it is hard to play the chicken shit heel. It is hard. And Joaquin Phoenix plays it to the T in that role as Commodus.
Commodus.
Commodus. Thank you. Yeah, and he's absolutely amazing in it. And like I said, that he's a great antithesis to Russell Crowe. He's everything that Russell Crowe is not. And just watching this man of power be eaten up with envy, it's fantastic.
Well, the creepy vibe of a man who would kill his father, and then he sends you these creepy ancestral vibes with his sister. That I was like,
and then
ooh.
even the threat of killing her son, just holding him the way he held him in his lap, and busy little bee. Oh man, that scene just like, gave me the creep.
Yeah, I don't know how you beat that performance. Okay, Zach, how about you?
All right, so my choice number one is Edward Norton Jr. for his role in American History X.
Yes,
Because when you hear that he lost this one to Roberto Benigni in Life is Beautiful,
Yes.
which film is more watchable again?
Thank you.
Life is Beautiful. You can go back and watch. You watch it once, and you really don't need to see that film again. Because I mean, he plays the great clown, but again, you go to Edward Norton Jr., who plays this incredibly despicable man who has who gets the revelation of a lifetime.
Yes.
And his whole life turns around. He's trying to redeem his whole family. And you see him first in the start shots. Right after and I hate to do the spoiler, but I mean after he curb stops the guy. And you see him in that stark black and white, being arrested, and then you see him coming into color, and you see his whole world just kind of changing. It's such a bravura performance, and I mean it's so hard to be hated, but it's really hard to turn that around in an hour and a half. And I mean, it's a beautiful redemption story. And American History X is a fantastic film. And for Edward Norton to have been snubbed in that role for Benigni, come on.
Yeah.
No.
that's the corny old stuff that the Academy loves, though. It's like Life is Beautiful. They love it. They eat that crap. That's just me talking. I mean, it's a good film. But, but that performance, oh my God.
Yeah.
Edward Norton blew that away.
Exactly.
Yeah, it really put him on the map because I think the movie he did before that was the Richard Gere film where he plays the psycho that you don't think can talk and then
just watch
talks.
that over my spring break.
Now see, I dig that. So I don't understand that why Edward Norton didn't get that. That didn't bothers me much. The one that really bothered me, I put at the top here, is Denzel Washington in Malcolm X. I'm like, are you kidding me? And so then you give it to him 2 years later for Training Day? And it's like, dude, he was Malcolm X in that film. He was Malcolm Little. I believe that every speech that he gave, that's a 3-hour movie that does not feel like 3 hours.
No, it flies by. Really.
And I couldn't believe it. So he didn't even get nominated that year. And so instead, I think it was, and I made sure I took down some notes because I wanted to know that if you don't win, then who won instead of you? So instead of Denzel here, Al Pacino gets it for Scent of a Woman, which was okay, but it's just Pacino, and he just does a lot of screaming a lot in most of his films.
Over the top. Pacino, that's when he started getting into that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I think the film's fine, but check this out. Denzel didn't even get nominated, and then Clint Eastwood didn't win it for Unforgiven. I like Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven way better than Pacino in Son of a Woman in '93. Wow. But Denzel didn't even get nominated, folks. That's crazy talk.
Freaking crazy.
Yeah.
That really was Oscar so wide back then, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it really kind of spoke to the inherent fear of giving Spike Lee any credit. Any credit.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. That's still a travesty.
They do not reward.
Yeah.
Directors that are not on the mainstream or Hollywood directors.
Yeah. Well, I remember he had to get the money. He had to get the money for the film because I think it was Warner Brothers didn't. They were like, well, if you don't have enough money, and there was Oprah and one of the black athletes, maybe Jordan or somebody, that said, no, this movie needs to be made. And they ended up giving him the rest of the money so he could make the film that he wanted to make because he wanted to show him going over there to Mecca, right? Because that's also a part of his story. Man,
that's one of my favorite sequences in that movie.
Yeah.
Goes to Mecca, goes to that temple for the first time. Just looking up and these beautiful shots, just panning the ceiling. It's like it's this huge, massive open space. There's nobody there.
Yeah, truly robbery.
Yes.
Completely.
Absolutely.
How about you, Samurai? What's
Okay.
another film on
My
your
second
list?
one, this is a
Or
more
person.
recent film. Actually, it was just last year.
Okay.
This film, probably a little seen. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. It was The Card Counter.
Never even heard of it.
Oscar Isaac plays a professional, like he gambles for money. You know, he enters these tournaments in Las Vegas
Oh yeah, I've
and
heard
things.
of this.
Willem Dafoe is in it, and there's a young actor in it. I can't think of it right off the bat right now, but it's Paul Schrader. So in a Paul Schrader movie, you got to expect very bleak, very violent, very a serious film. Like this movie is like it'll bring you down. Really, like don't watch it if you suffer from depression. Tiffany Haddish is also in it, and she was actually really good in this movie.
Okay.
But Oscar Isaac, I think his performance is a very understated performance. He doesn't do anything flashy, but he commands the screen in every scene he's in, and he's in just about every scene in the movie. It's all from his basically point of view. But his background was he was one of the soldiers that was handling the detainees in Guantanamo while they were being brutalized and tortured and all this stuff. And he got basically it's psychologically it messed him up. So he's just very quiet, very only talks when he has to. Kind of remind you a little bit of Ryan Gosling, the driver in Drive. It's that kind of character, just very. So Tiffany Haddish, he meets up with her, and she wants to sponsor him to play cars because she sees that he's very good. And then he meets up with this kid who wants to kidnap a guy, a commanding officer that Oscar Isaac used to work with, and he wants to kidnap him and torture him and kill him because he was responsible for I believe his dad committing suicide. So it's this whole dynamic of all these things going on, and then the finals, not the final scene, but when Oscar Isaac has to reconnect with that commanding officer, which was Willem Dafoe. That's a very, very heavy scene. So I thought he was not even nominated for this movie, so I couldn't believe it. And I don't even know who's nominated. I'm not really up on who's nominated this year at all.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Yes, I didn't keep up with it either.
I recommend it, but yeah, it's a very heavy film, and it's not for everybody. But
Let's go
I love
visit.
Paul Schrader. Just his script writing, his language, how he uses film, and
See, it's funny that you mentioned him up because I thought, to me, like Deus Ex Machina, I loved his performance in that as well.
Yeah,
And I don't think he got much acclaim
Yes.
at all for that role
Oh,
either.
God, yeah.
And of course, now he's going to
Now that I
be
think about
in
it.
Moon Knight, but but
yeah, and I thought he would give up on these, Star Wars and Marvel stuff, but I don't know. Maybe
You make the big stuff so you
paycheck
can
is
keep making
too
the
big.
small stuff.
Yeah, that's probably it. Absolutely. Yeah,
If
maybe.
you like Moon Knight, you might like him in The Card Counter. Just saying.
yeah, well, that seems to be a lot. How about you, Kazak? What's another one for you?
All right, so you're going to hear me say this over and over again during the next hour. but
Great.
The Academy ignores horror. The Academy ignores horror, and one of the
And
big
one more
ones-
time, kids.
the Academy ignores horror.
The
And
sky
big-
is blue.
And the first one that I'll bring up is Mia Farrow for Rosemary's Baby in 1968. Now, to clarify, Ruth Gordon, who plays the supporting role as Minnie Castevet, won the Best Supporting Actress.
Oh, of course.
But Mia wasn't even nominated.
Unbelievable.
And I mean, in that class, Katharine Hepburn for The Lion in Winter, and Barbara Streisand in Funny Girl. But
Wow.
now, say what you will about Roman Polanski, problematic filmmaker, blah blah blah.
Right.
Put that aside. Mia put on the performance of a lifetime in this film. I mean, from the paranoia to just watching her physically transform, to watching her, panicking and coming to the realization that what she's given birth to is the son of the devil. It is a fascinating performance from her because it's just so. It's just a performance that kind of watches a woman tear herself apart, not only in paranoia, but also physically.
Yeah.
You watch her just completely come down from being this sunny housewife, happy to be married, happy to be pregnant, and then all the way down into being surrounded by
Devastating.
all the people who were just trying to control her. And when she finally gets out and tries to get that one breath of hope, it's like, no, there's nothing left. And you see that in her desperation. And then Polanski captures her destruction beautifully. And it's a real shame that, again, ignoring what she was in this film and how hard that performance was, it again, it's a travesty.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, and that's old school. You're going back to 60. I was born that year, but I remember people were still talking about that film when I was old enough to understand language. And I remember people talking about Rosemary's
Yeah, it's a
Baby in
performance
that
that you're still
performance.
talking about.
Yeah, and I can't say that if you looked at the list of these best actors and some of the films that they were in, most people aren't going to remember some of these films.
Yeah, right.
Which is straight up amazing. So, my second one, I couldn't believe this. I couldn't believe that Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan, right? Which I thought that movie, that first 25 minutes is the greatest 25 minutes of cinema for any movie that ever started. That first 25 minutes, no one captured that scene the way Spielberg did there with this. And then, of course, you think about Tom Hanks.
Oh, right?
My gosh, yes.
And I love when Spielberg does that. And Munich is another one that I love because he went hard on it. It's like, he can do violence like no one else.
So I'm like, oh, so you don't win. And so instead, you mentioned it, Kazak, it was Roberto Benigni that won for Life is Beautiful. He beat Tom Hanks out in this war movie. You know how they love war movies too, especially when America's winning and stuff. But I'm like, wait a minute, Tom Hanks? This is the guy who at the end of the movie that was crying at this tombstone looking at these men that had fallen, and he said, "Have I lived a good life?" After all the stuff you saw that he did, he still questioned. I mean, not only was his performance spot on, but just that philosophical question that we're all wondering, am I enough? Am I enough? Can I ever be enough? Have I ever been enough? Once you reach his age and you look back, sure, people tell the stories. So to me, I don't know how that lost.
I got to believe that it's the Academy worrying about overexposure and voting in the same people over and over again. And again, he gets it back for Road to Perdition, right?
I think so.
Which in my opinion was a much better role, a much better display of his talents.
Yes,
because Saving Private Ryan, it's a great film, but Tom Hanks isn't especially good in it. I mean, he's there and he puts on an emotional performance, but there's so much going on that I think you kind of lose the performance in that role.
That's interesting.
But again, losing it to Benigni again.
Yeah,
that's
no. Well, I mean, you can't win all these other awards. I mean,
Yeah.
Saving Private Ryan's won at least 5 or 6 awards, and the idea that he wouldn't and Spielberg wouldn't win for director on this film either, and you give it to a beautiful. So I have to ask myself, what was so great about Life is Beautiful then?
I got to believe it was more the studio systems playing the voters.
It was probably a Weinstein film.
I gotta believe it was.
Just wined and dined.
You
the
know?
Academy, right?
I gotta believe it was.
I guarantee that was a Weinstein.
There's more to come on that for sure. What's another one for you there, Phil?
Okay, my third one, Amy Adams. I love Amy Adams. I adore her. I think she's a great actress. I just love her radiance. She has something about her. American Hustle. This role of hers, and I've seen this film multiple times, and every time I just marvel at her performance because her character comes from almost nothing. She starts out as a stripper. I mean, this in flashbacks they show her in it looks like an old cabaret or something. And then she, little by little, builds herself up, meets certain people, gets to a point where she's running games, grifting, and then she meets up with Christian Bale's character. And then she meets when these two get together, it's like a spark, and there's something going on, and there's more to their relationship than either one has ever had. So Christian Bale's character is married to a character played by Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes.
And this is all 80s, the app scam where they were trying to the FBI was involved with trying to capture some people, just conspiracy financial stuff. And they hired Christian Bale because he was very well known as far as like pulling scams on people. So he teams up with Amy Adams. And now Amy Adams, in one of her personas, she adopts a persona of an English person. She speaks in an English accent, so she can impress these people. And says, "Oh, we've got this corporation that's based in London, and we have an office here, and we'll get you your and so she's got like 3 layers of character going on.
Oh my god!
And by the last layer, man, she's starting to lose it. It's starting to get to her. But the movie pays off beautifully. Her performance, I cannot believe. Well, she lost to Kate Blanchett in Blue Jasmine, which is an incredible performance because this is like a Kate Blanchett performance that's pretty different than her usual. She comes off to me as very campy performances a lot of times. If you see Nightmare Alley, that's her persona now. But in this movie, she played kind of a real schizo, unusual, almost like bordering on a homeless person. But it was a Woody Allen film. Anyway, she won for that. The thing was that American Hustle was nominated for 10 Oscar nominations, didn't win a thing.
Wow.
And so, and I thought at least Amy Adams would win. You know, of course, Christian Bale was nominated. And I think even Jeremy Renner maybe was nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah.
And the whole cast, the whole movie is really, really well done. David O. Russell. A lot of people hate this guy, but I think he's an incredible filmmaker. But anyway, Amy Adams, that was my third pick.
Yeah,
Wow.
Amy puts on in that movie a really, really layered performance because she's putting on the grifter. She's
Layered
putting on,
is perfect.
She's putting on the cooperative witness, but she's also playing the supportive girlfriend. And watching her, desperately trying to save Christian Bale's character amidst the whole thing, it's really just fantastic. Watching her go from so cool to so panicked, it's so dynamic.
And she's sexy as hell too.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
She plays sex appeal and what was the actor who was playing the FBI? He was a sniper. Was it? God, I can't think of his
Bradley
name.
Cooper.
Bradley Cooper.
So she has to play him too, like pretend like she's into him. And
Yeah.
oh my god, there's so many things going on with her character. It's almost like she's the center and everything's going on around her. But wow, that was a performance of a lifetime for her.
Oh my gosh. Book that. Book it. How about you, K-Zag?
All right, so my number 3 was Bill Murray in Rushmore. If you we go back to 1999 because again, Benigni wins Life is Beautiful. Tom Hanks nominated. Up against in that class is Ian McKellen in Gods and Monsters, Nick Nolte in Affliction, and Edward Norton in American History X. Now, out of those, I got to believe Bill Murray was the much better actor in this film because it's really kind of a transition role for Bill Murray because again, he's going from playing straight comedy to in this Wes Anderson film playing a guy who's just watching his whole life fall apart in the midlife crisis. And I mean, it is a really great, well-written, but well-constructed performance from Bill Murray. It's something that you never expect. And to see him play opposite Jason Schwartzman in this film, just him playing the rival to a 17-year-old jackass. I mean, it's a really novel performance, and Rushmore is a novel film, and this film was just ignored entirely by the Academy. But I mean, Bill Murray in that role, just playing the hard-drinking, hard-smoking guy watching his whole life fall apart. It is a great midlife crisis, and Bill Murray just trying to play it as deadpan as he can, watching these kids he hates, watching his life that he hates. And, watching this girl he's become obsessed over, just all of it fall apart in front of him. Yeah. Watching this guy fall apart. It's a great movie to see Bill Murray in. And the fact that it was completely ignored and the fact that they still ignore what he does, I think it's a crime. I think it's an absolute crime to ignore just how gifted of not only comedian he is, but also as an actor.
For sure. And there's
makes
only
it look easy, too.
He does.
He
does.
It's just like natural to him.
Yeah, and there's not too many comedians that make the transition, but when they do, they hit hard.
Yeah.
So when you
Robin
see
Williams and
Robin Williams
1 Hour
and
Photo or
Jim
something.
Carrey,
Dying is
Truman
easy
Show.
comedy is hard, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. Well, the third one I picked, I decided I'd put some love on the supporting role. And so when I thought about supporting roles, I thought, well, those are easy to overlook in some degree. But for me, I thought Val Kilmer in Heat. People don't think about this very much. This guy's playing opposite two greats, De Niro and Pacino, who kind of are at odds with each other, maybe. You don't get to see it as much as you'd like to see, but they're there. So when you're in a film with these two guys and you're Val Kilmer and you've done Batman and people didn't really like that so much and all this other stuff, you're wondering, can this guy really act? And for me, seeing how he balanced those two and how I actually was more interested in what he was going to do. I kind of knew what De Niro was going to do, and I kind of knew how Pacino was going to scream it. All right, we're gonna.
He's got a great ass.
But him watching him and the whole utility of him knowing I can't overshine them, but that doesn't mean I don't bring my A game. And so what I see, if you watch any of the Val Kilmer films, this is the film where you could see where he consciously said, no, I'm as good as those guys, and I'm going to show you as much as I can with the direction that I'm given. So when you think about Heat, you think about a movie already that's one of the biggest action films ever, and people still talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
So
there was a guy who dedicated a podcast to 1 minute of every minute of that movie and talked about it for an hour. 1 minute. They call it one Heat minute.
Yeah,
It's like, oh my God.
that's so good. And so now, and again, we understand. So it's 1995, so he loses to Kevin Spacey in Usual Suspects. But if there was an underdog here, it wouldn't be Kevin Spacey. The underdog would be Val Kilmer, because I didn't expect that level of dramatic acting. It wasn't just shoot, bang, bang, go run, send guys here, go send guys there, be a command. I just felt like, man, he fits. I almost forgot it was Val Kilmer.
Oh, that scene where he drives up and his girlfriend's out the window and kind of does that little signal to him, that expression on his face, like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Oh, do you remember this movie, KZ?
It's been so long since I've seen it, but I will tell you that Val Kilmer has impeccable timing as an actor.
Yes.
That is the one thing that you can always say. Everything from Real Genius to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Top Gun,
Tombstone.
even Top Secret.
Naked Gun? Oh, no, it's the Top Secret. That's right.
Yeah, but I mean, Val as an actor had such incredible timing that it's great to watch him on film because of not only the way he delivers, and of course he did get his Oscar for Jim Morrison in The Doors.
I think yes, I have to check that, but I think that might be right. Yeah.
I mean, if you ever question if the man can act, that's a role right there that absolutely proves it. Yeah, I mean, Val was magnetic on screen, but Val was just great timing when it came to dialogue.
If you haven't seen that documentary about him, watch it.
I have.
It's
That's
so good.
I
it's
haven't
good.
yet, and that's what's
highly
one that's definitely on
recommend.
the list.
Yeah. Now I'm looking him up. No, he doesn't. He doesn't seem. He didn't get it for Doors, unfortunately. What year was Doors? Do you remember?
92, 91, something.
Yep.
I don't know.
I got it right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Nope. So let's go. With that, let's take a look at topic B. So we already saw what it's like when an actor gets snubbed. What about pictures? Best picture, because this is the one that we're always arguing and fighting over which film should have gotten. We got many years that we could say this, but for you, Film Samurai, what was a snub for you?
Okay, this is a hard snub for me because the film that was snubbed is actually my favorite film of all time, which is Apocalypse Now. And it came out in '79. I still remember to this day going to see it in the theater, the old Highland Park Theater. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, man,
they had
that's
just
good times.
installed Dolby speakers in that place. And oh my God, that opening scene with the napalm in the jungle. And I think it's a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. And you'll never guess who it lost to that year. Kramer versus Kramer.
What? I mean, Dustin Hoffman's good, but come on.
Yeah, it was a very popular movie, and I'm sure it was a blockbuster for its time, but Apocalypse Now, oh my.
Yeah.
No.
You think about the majesty of that film versus the
It was a
boring,
TV
the
movie
boredom
drama.
the boredom of Kramer versus Kramer. Come on, man. Really?
There must have been a lot of divorces that year or something. For just a minute.
Everybody can
Yeah.
relate to that movie.
I can relate to
versus-
this movie. I just got rid of my woman. That's it. Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah.
We're doing it again.
But
Part
yeah,
two.
it was just unbelievable that movie didn't get the best picture. I think it won for cinematography. It may have won 1 or 2 technical Oscars, but
Yeah. No, that's
anyway, it's
disappointing.
still heartbreaking. You know, thinking about it.
Okay, Zach, what's one for you? Best picture that got snubbed.
I don't know how this got ignored, and I'm still mad about it. Once again, the Academy ignores horror, and the one that they ignored was The Shining, 1980. Nothing for Kubrick on this one. And I mean, again, The Shining, when you go back and watch it again and again, there's just so many layers. There's just so much intrinsic symbolism.
Just the two main performances, Nicholson and Duvall.
Yeah, I mean, what Kubrick put his actors through in that film, it is a masterclass in brutality, the whole film. And, you know, like I said, you go back and you just see so much in it, and it's still a frightening film. It is still a terrifying film.
Yes, it is.
Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance is terrifying. The house in and of itself, the Overlook Hotel, is frightening. And once you start getting into the more bizarre, surreal stuff that falls in it, you just see more and more how crazy this film is, and the fact that, you know, it's entirely ignored by the Academy for not only what it accomplished with, you know, those great shots down the halls,
Camera work. Oh my God.
the colorization, the bland yet colorful palette, all of it is just remarkable. And to ignore that film, it's still a crime. Again, with the Academy ignoring horror up until about Silence of the Lambs, it annoys me. It really just gets under my skin.
I'm with you.
I'm totally with you on
Not
that.
not just as a horror film fan, but a film fan. Period.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know, the first film for me, and I kind of spilt the goods a little bit earlier, but I'm still baffled by the fact that Saving Private Ryan lost A Scent of a Woman. I'm still stuck there. So Spielberg here makes this film in 1999. He's going up against films like Shakespeare in Love, Elizabeth, Life is Beautiful, and The Thin Red Line, which is also another one of those war films. And out of those films, I'm still seeing Saving Private Ryan, even though it's intense and it's long. I would watch that film over any of these that are listed here. And maybe The Thin Red Line I could watch again, but for me, I just think people don't understand that the Saving Private Ryan is listed in the movies, listed in the Supreme, the registry that's the top films of all time. Saving Private Ryan's number 50.
Wow.
None of these films that are here that were nominated are even in the film Supreme Court's
Isn't
registry of best
funny
films of all time.
how so many of the films that get recognized by the Oscars are forgotten now?
Yeah, it's
It's
true.
like people don't watch them anymore. So it's like I guess they were popular for their time, but and they got voted on for whatever reason. But yeah, they don't hold up.
They
at
don't.
all.
They don't. You know, another good mark of a good film is when some of the other characters get a career because so many people watch the film. So Vin Diesel was in that film. Matt Damon was in that film.
yeah.
People forget
Matt
who the
Damon.
cast of characters that were in there, right?
Yeah.
And we have Matt Damon, right? So when you see the all-star performance, and what's his name? There's another guy, the guy Ed Wood, not his first name isn't Ed. No, it is Ed, but I can't remember his
Edward
last name.
Burns?
Yes, Edward Burns is in that as well. Remember, he was very good as the dissenting. Well, why are we following him anymore? He doesn't know where we're going. This guy's lost. He doesn't know where we're at. And that whole dissension scene, I remember that. And he just took a portion of that platoon with him. You know, I was just like,
Yeah, but like you said, I mean, the Academy loves that, emotional fluff nonsense.
Yeah.
And voting out of the war movie and voting over, Spielberg again? Psh,
Emotions. Who needs them?
exactly. Yeah, war, damn it.
well, that's part of this too, because what we'll see too as we go further is that some of these, I'm convinced that because they didn't give it to them for the right film, they flub up and give it to them for another film.
Right.
right? So again, I mentioned Denzel, but I'll say this again for my next one. But Denzel Washington, it was almost like, yeah, how on earth are we not giving this guy? Okay, what's the latest movie he's in? Oh, he's in Training Day. Okay, give it to him for that, where he plays a rogue cop that's still a good guy, but is a bad guy mostly. And
No, he's a bad guy.
He's
He's
right.
he's a criminal.
Totally.
basically.
Yeah, him and Ethan Hawke,
He
and
gets
you're
Ethan
just
Hawke
like,
high on the first day.
yeah, I don't think even Denzel would tell you that that was his best role ever. But he got one for that instead of Philadelphia or Malcolm X.
Yeah.
What's another one for you? Film that just got snubbed.
Oh, film. I only picked one, so I didn't know we were gonna.
No, you had
Oh,
two.
I'm sorry, director. I'm
No.
sorry, director.
Oh, we're going to director.
No,
Oh, wait a minute,
you
it
had
is
two,
film.
sir.
Okay. There's two. Yeah, you have two. Films.
You have, you talked
Oh,
about
did
The
I?
Master.
Oh, the master.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. This is Paul Thomas Anderson. This film is another one of those is not for everybody. So I can kind of understand how the Academy could not dig it or relate to it at all. It's a vague telling of who's the guy that started that
L. Ron
like
Hubbard.
L. Ron
Oh,
Hubbard.
no, Hubbard. Oh,
Okay, so
Dianetics.
Dianetics, all that stuff. So, but oh my God, the Philip Seymour Hoffman, and again Joaquin Phoenix in probably the role of a lifetime. Paul Thomas Anderson must have put this guy through so much hell in this movie, physically and mentally, probably as well. It's a very physical performance. There's a scene where he's just going nuts in a jail cell. I mean, it's just one scene after another, after another, after another, and every scene is built and builds and builds and builds until it explodes, and then it starts over again. By the end of the movie, you're almost exhausted. There's an incredible final scene towards the end where Phoenix's character has long separated from the master, but then reconnects with him again. And this scene in his office is just an all-timer for me. The way they play against each other. So this film, I don't know how. Well, I do see how. But
You can guess.
if I
You
was
can guess.
if I was the master of the universe, I would say this is the best picture of that year. So I mean, it was my favorite film of that year, my top 10, number one. So Paul Thomas Anderson, I don't think, as far as I'm concerned, he's never made a bad film. So.
Paul Thomas Anderson knows how to exhaust his audience.
Yeah.
I mean, because watching his films, you've got to be kind of geared up for it. It's what his stuff is not stuff that you can watch over and over again, except for like maybe Boogie Nights. Just because the emotional roller coaster that his actors put you through as an audience member is amazing. And Philip Seymour Hoffman, in every role he's offered in his later career, just again you can feel just the man's presence. And Joaquin Phoenix just absolutely going through hell. I have to believe there were a couple reasons why Hollywood ignored this one. I'd say it has to do with the church and the little science and thetans. So
some pressure put on certain people in high places.
and there it is. So yeah,
I'll say
that's why we ignored it.
Well, that sounds as good as any theory I've heard. Okay, Zach?
All right, so my number two. All right, so my second film in this, again, this is one that was a complete oversight, I feel, and that's Miller's Crossing from the Coen brothers. This is a really underestimated film, a great film noir piece. When I look at who was also involved in that year, you had Goodfellas, not a surprise. The Godfather Part 3, which really pisses me off. Ghost, Awakenings, and The Winter Dances with Wolves. All right, look, you can say what you will about, the spectacle of Dances with Wolves. People just bought into it. Yada yada yada. Goodfellas is a great film, but I mean, The Godfather Part 3 better than Miller's Crossing. No. Such nuanced performances from Albert Finney and Gabriel Byrne. The sequence where Albert Finney's escaping the house on fire, just all of it. Watching Gabriel Byrne first unleash mercy and then having to destroy the guy. All of it. It's just this great crime noir tale. that's just was completely ignored by the Academy. You forget just how good the Coen brothers are, but I mean everything they do, is just fantastic. This is, I think, I can't remember if it was the first or second film right off of Raising Arizona. Um, you just, I think, forget just how good these guys are. But when you go back and see all the films, and Miller's Crossing got nothing. Got nothing.
Not even screenwriting, which
No.
is probably to me is their strength.
Yeah.
Is the writing, the dialogue, the interactions of the characters,
Yeah.
and the way they build characters.
Yeah,
is
this film was
incredible.
completely ignored, and the film is in and of itself an underestimated classic. It's worth going back and watching again. But good God, for the Academy to have ignored it entirely, they missed the mark on them, and that's why I think they're kind of making up with films like "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" or anything like that. But yeah, just for that film to be completely ignored, it impossible.
Yeah, no, well, I have one too. This one is also feeding into that machine that we're talking about with Hollywood. This is The Shawshank Redemption loses to Forrest Gump in 1995. The Shawshank Redemption, which you get award for Morgan Freeman, but I couldn't believe this. I was like, really? So in 1995, y'all sat down and y'all said, well, Tom Hanks needs another one, and so and so and so and so. And it's like, no, if he needs one, if Tom Hanks needs another award, and obviously this is Best Picture, but it wouldn't be for Forrest Gump, and he did win it for Forrest Gump, and then it won Best Picture on top of it. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Now, Pulp Fiction also was in the nominees, and so was Four Weddings and a Funeral, which is fine, and The Quiz Show was fine, but Forrest Gump led the field and beat Shawshank Redemption. And I know that people like it. It shows up on TV, regular TV. Every year they put Forrest Gump on there and they cut out the certain parts. And sure, Gary Sinise is great as a supporting actor. Absolutely. And sure, it's funny in places. But we're talking about Shawshank Redemption.
That's to me. That's one of the all-time pitch perfect films from beginning to end. The music, the dialogue, the scenes, the setting, everything just works in that film. And it's one of the best. It's probably the best adaptation of a Stephen King novella, or book, property, whatever you want to call it, that's ever been put on film. Gosh, just that one scene where he locks himself in that room and starts playing classical music. That is an iconic scene.
Oh.
And there's not many films like that. Morgan Freeman was perfectly cast as Red, which in the book he was not. He was not African American.
Yeah.
He was a redheaded man.
Yeah.
That's why they call him Red.
Yeah.
And every character in the movie was like they cast the perfect people in that movie.
Yeah. And everything that I hate about American filmmaking is in Forrest Gump, but everything I love about American filmmaking is in Shawshank Redemption.
Robert Zemeckis, I like some of his stuff, but man, he is like confection. Just stuff, very commercial, very okay, just please the audience. And,
Well,
I mean, it's enjoyable.
And I mean,
But Forrest,
I can't ignore that Forrest Gump technically is a marvel.
oh yeah,
For the time, it's technically
yeah.
a
You
marvel.
believe that Gary Sinise was missing legs, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
believe
Like,
that
how do
he's
they
missing legs.
fucking do that?
And like I said, him being able to place Forrest Gump in all these historical sequences and
How he
matching
created
up the film,
the happy
matching up the filmmaking and making it look credible. Yeah, it's a technical marvel. Technically, it's great, but it's not a good film.
I'm sure that's why the Academy was so enamored with it. It's because they were just like, oh, how do you do that? How do you do that?
Yeah. And the Great American Robbery. Yeah, blah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, let's hit up the last one. We just picked one director then. So we looked at actor, we looked at picture, and then now there's directors out there that you wouldn't believe, those of you sitting at home, have never won Best Director or anything like that at all. And it might surprise you. So let's start with you, Film Samurai.
All right. I picked this director because it probably is my favorite director, I guess. Every one of his films has been, in my opinion, I wouldn't say iconic, but everyone is rewatchable. Everyone is technically almost perfect. But Stanley Kubrick,
Yeah.
he was nominated twice for 2001, which is probably one of the best science fiction films of all time,
Mm-hmm.
and Clockwork Orange, and those were his early films. The Shining, Barry Lyndon. You know, if you ever watched
Yes.
Barry Lyndon, that is one of the most gorgeous films you've ever seen. And yeah, I think part of this was, like we say, the director is not a mainstream Hollywood filmmaker. He's out of the system. He makes films on his own terms. The deal he made was with Warner Brothers was that he had final cut, and you don't give that to directors unless
No.
they are at the top of their game, and they almost guarantee they're going to make a great film. So I applaud Warner Brothers for doing that for Kubrick and letting him create his vision, which is he's a visionary director as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, for never winning for The Shining would have been a great best director as far as I'm concerned. I agree with Zach on that. Even Clockwork 2001. Oh my God. How do you not win best director for that? But yeah, you have to look at who he went against. That's part of it.
Yep. Yep.
And yeah, you don't know what's in the minds of. And the thing is, in the Oscars, directors vote for directors, technical people vote for technical people, actors vote for actors.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Best Picture is the only one where everybody can vote on. But you would think, okay, these are other directors. How do they watch a film like 2001 and not recognize the genius of that film and the filmmaking process of that? So that's just a oof.
Yeah, I don't quite get that. I don't quite get that at all. How about you, K-Zach?
This one was a shocker to me when I was looking up at Oscar snubs, and I'm going to say it one more time as loud as I can for the people in the back. Hollywood and the Academy ignores horror, and this one is the oversight of a friggin' lifetime, and that is Alfred Hitchcock. Hitchcock never won. He won a posthumous award, but again, how do you ignore the entirety of this man's career? North by Northwest, Psycho, Vertigo, Rope. I mean, everything that the man did is fantastic.
Yes.
He came up with, great filmmaking techniques. He defined a genre of film. He is probably one of the most inspirational directors of all time. And for the Academy to completely ignore the man for whatever reason, political or just the fact that they ignore scary movies, it's impossible to believe. Hitchcock is absolutely, one of the greatest directors of all time, if not the greatest director, arguably. But to see that the Academy ignores, innovation because they make scary movies or because they make, salacious
Popular
movies and things
stuff,
like that. Yeah. To ignore it for, schlock and song and dance men, it's ridiculous. That's exactly what it is. Roberto Benigni has an Oscar and Alfred Hitchcock does not. That's all that really needs to be said.
Wow, mic drop.
Thank
wow. Well, mine was, and again, this surprised me as well. I had to go back and do the research. Ridley Scott has never won Best Director, although he's done great movies that everyone knows, like Blade Runner, Alien, Gladiator, Thelma and Louise, Black Hawk Down. I mean, he's got a litany of these
House
things.
of Gucci.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. He did. That's right. I almost forgot that
He
one.
did too last year.
Yeah.
Two
And
films.
yet,
Still
this
making-
guy.
He's like 90 years old. He's still cranking out classics. Man.
Yeah. You do Alien, right? At that time, and you move it to a whole different direction, late 70s, 79, when that movie comes out, right? Where the woman actually survives and the black guy's the last guy to die almost if it wasn't for, for my girl, right? And you get this, so he's made these contributions. He's not afraid to use the technology in Gladiator, using that CGI to do the Coliseum and all that stuff.
Yep.
Like he wasn't afraid to use it. And if he's not sci-fi guy, he's, like I said, Black Hawk Down's a great war movie too. So and he has great casting in that film. So it's like, I don't understand how Ridley Scott doesn't, not for all these I just listed, not one of those was good enough to win. him for best directing, I'm shocked. I don't have very many words. Gazak, help me.
Yeah, I mean, the Academy tends to ignore spectacle when they can get away with it, because they can give it to the big ones for cinematography or best special effects and things like that, but they completely ignore just how difficult it is to get these grand spectacles on screen.
Yeah.
And Ridley Scott, as I've said before, does spectacle better than anybody. Even if it's the intimacy of the spaceship in Alien, or it's the grandiose arena in Gladiator, the man does spectacle better than anyone. And again, the Academy ignores it for favor of either song and dance men or
Somebody threw a bigger
terrible
party at
relationship.
Paramount than
Yeah.
this studio.
or terrible relationships slowly falling apart. Like, I watch that. If I want to see that, I'll go to my neighbor's house, because I don't need to see this. I need to see how big this stuff can get. And Ridley Scott does bigger and better than anyone.
He does, and he was one of the first to introduce women as lead central characters. That's what he did in '79 with Sigourney Weaver and Alien. Then he does a Thelma and Louise film all about that dynamic between them. So he wasn't afraid to put women at the forefront too, at a time where maybe you didn't see this as much. And he didn't do it as to say, look at me for doing this. He's just like, hey, what if Sigourney Weaver is the one who lives, and instead of the guys who we always pick to always kind of be dashing and daring and resilient enough to.
And if you want to see something really underrated by Ridley Scott, Kingdom of Heaven, but watch the director's cut version. Don't watch the theatrical cut. It is incredible.
Okay.
Yeah, even the performance that he gets out of Julianne Moore in Hannibal is fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah, some of his considered flops or whatever, Prometheus,
Yeah.
that was considered, it was not as good. Of course, it was an Alien, but a lot of people had problems with it, but it's a gorgeous film.
Yeah. So to me, I didn't quite get it, why he doesn't have one at least. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's Who Do You Know? Which of your favorite movies got snubbed in your opinion, or what about your favorite actor or actress, or what about your favorite director? If you know of someone that you feel like is also just totally snubbed, go ahead and put that in the comment section below, and we'll definitely have some discussion around that, because that's pretty crazy. Well, this is the Oscars. It's been a quick show. We have to definitely thank the OG for being here
Indeed.
today and
Bravo.
showing up.
Bravo.
He knows he's welcome anytime he wants to come
Yep.
in. If he tells us what topic it is, we'll just do that topic. So we're just so glad to have him back, and that the audience, you guys get a chance to see the film Samurai. If you weren't here in the earlier years when we were doing this guy was a major contributor. He did some wonderful things for the show to give us some good footing to then launch from there. So we're so appreciative of that. And with that, we're going to shout outs. So Film Samurai, who do you want to shout out to?
Shout out to the usual, my son and daughter, Matthew and Nicole, all my Twitter pals who love film as much as I do. They're great to follow because they give me so many great recommendations. I'm doing a new thing called Weird Wednesday, and I asked them, send me some recommendations. Oh my God, they send me the greatest stuff that I've been watching every Wednesday.
So they can follow you on Twitter under the
crazy
handle of Film Samurai?
At Film Samurai. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Love it. Kazak, who you shouting out to?
Again, we do want to go ahead and shout out everyone here in DallasOnAir.com. Like I said, we're grateful to Jedi and Catherine for giving us a home here every Sunday here. Do stay tuned right after this show for Isle of Toys with Cole Houston. In addition to that, also check out Cole's other podcast, The Rant Pit, which usually alternates Sundays with us. We've been a little kind of behind, but we're going to get back on track with that next month. Then, of course, do check out all the other stuff here in DallasOnAir.com. Check out Best for Business. Check out Say Something. Check out Fan and Wife. Check out Figments and Display Industries podcast. Check out all our friends right here in DallasOnAir.com.
Yes, and I'm going to shout out to that husband and wife team of Brandy and Barry Austin. They love watching the show. Sean Presley, Lauren Wiedauer, Tristan Frazier, Harry Thomas Prim, who's a YouTuber, Troy Ross, Daniel Meza, a good friend of both of me and the Samurais here, and Eddie Medina, of course, Freddie, over there at Alamo Draft House. He's awesome. If you haven't had a chance to go talk to him, he's pretty good and very knowledgeable about film as well.
Which one? Which Alamo Draft?
He's at the one over there in Richardson.
Okay.
He's at that one.
That's the closest one to me.
Closest one to you. And then Cole Houston as well, who will have his show here right after ours. Stephanie Crane, and I don't have to say the Film Samurai this time because he's actually here. So Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. That's our shout outs. We will see you in the second Sunday and the fourth Sunday of the month is usually what we do. So we will see you then, and we'll have some great topics ready to go then. Until then, we're the gang, the fulfillment crew, and we're just saying peace.
Peace.